do you see more 67 to 72s? Because when you're in the cab and you look at them, and even first gens 60 to 66, they're 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 definitely set up. When you think about the generations of C10s, first gen, we just talked a little bit about Rachel Derbs. She's got her panel. Your first gen 60 to 66. You know, it's funny how the left and right. It's almost like they're set up for that, and then a 67 to 72 second gen C10 is just absolutely set up. I mean, you could take everything and move it right on over. Dash pad doesn't matter. And then you get into the first gen squares and second gen squares, a little bit more going on there. So do you see a lot of the first and second gens that have been converted down there, more so obviously than the Loch Ness Monster?
Yeah, so it's really interesting with how Australia ticks in terms of the classic, you know, Ford, Chevs, any classic trucks. Is that we have some rules that anything that's bought in that's less than 25 years old, it has to be converted to a right-hand drive to be able to register it in Australia, and you kind of rewind the clock back to the 60s and the 70s when some of these trucks were bought in pre having a 3D printer or pre having a computer where you could kind of CAD up how it's going to look. There were shops there that were essentially, you know, cutting dashes, refiberglassing to convert everything. There's been some really good jobs where you see obviously in person the hours and hours and hours of work that's gone into converting them, but there's also equally I've heard some stories, I haven't seen it yet in person, of left to right hand drive converted 60s and early 70s trucks that all the steering components are still on the left hand side, and there's a chain that essentially runs to your steering shaft on the right hand side. And it's a lot of faith to put in stuff that's probably been there for, you know, survived 30, 40, 50 years. And yeah, just hats off to obviously everyone that's done it in the past, because there's you know, the trucks over in Australia that weren't always the most popular, but there's a huge resurgence of you know, these old 60s and 70s bow ties getting restored back to their former glory.